A warm welcome to one and all. This is a much awaited session and a session that is the need of the hour. Uh, it has all the promises to be a very interesting session for all of us. Before we move on to the session, I would like to introduce our council member, Dr. Sujata Mutanna, who is specializes in human-centered design, innovation, and transformation. A talent strategist and a consulting alchemist, Dr. Sujata Mutanna is the global head, deployment, microlearning platform, strategic accounts, Infosys. Adopting business storytelling, design thinking, and consulting methodologies, she has steered engagements globally on innovation, enterprise transformation, business impact, change management, strategy execution, etc. She's trained in design thinking from the D School of Stanford University and has played an integral role in coaching 70 plus market clients of Infosys across the globe. So a warm welcome, Sujata. Over to you to take on the moderation of this session.
Thank you so much for that, Raji. Once again, a warm welcome to everyone who have joined us today. Healing in a post-COVID world has so much of a positive vibe around it. And we have three eminent personalities with us who've contributed hugely to this, to the work that they're doing in this space, which is in the area of health, mental and social well-being, emotional and social well-being. The pandemic has brought positivity in more ways than one to the forefront. Okay, if we distribute our bubbles and lives, we have traversed between three boxes: the pre, the during, and the post COVID-19 worlds. With the second box almost behind us, and with a prayer on our lips, we just move ahead. We want to focus on what is the next of COVID-19. The life we embark on would be one with a lot of learnings that we take with us, a lot of exciting plans, because we've been stayed cooped up for about close to probably a year and a half. And by the time we get to the end of it, about 2 years. So we will have exciting plans and a lot of self-care. Right? So on that note, I'm interested to explore with our diverse, distinguished panel who are experts, practitioners of wellness coaching, nutrition and disease reversal, right? And alternate healing experts who use sound, acupuncture, acupressure, and access consciousness. Some of these were very new to me, and I'm very interested to also explore along with the audience and the Wiki Council members and the members as to what is how they sense the synergies that are playing between alternate healing work that each of them is doing, and each of them has done a lot of deep dive work in each of these areas. So on that note, I'd like to introduce to you all the eminent speakers for the day. I'm going to start, okay? And just to take you through how we're going to run this, I will introduce the three speakers, then we will have one question that ties together the techniques that will connect all of us. And after that, we will have a deep dive. And in the meantime, if you have any questions for each of the experts, please do so. I just wanted to let you know that we will be deep diving after we have a generic conversation. So on that note, introducing our experts for today, we have Rashmi Bagri, who's a corporate trainer, counseling psychologist, and employee assistance program provider, EAP provider. She has worked with some prestigious institutes like IIM Ahmedabad, Cognizant, NTT Data, etc. In her more than 15 years of work, as a positive psychology practitioner, she has impacted over 20,000 people and conducted numerous workshops across India. She's presently working with a mental health helpline as an EAP provider. Rashmi works with adults who are distressed, provides them techniques and toolkits to help them build their emotional maturity. She also works with teenagers who are dealing with stress-related residue from exams or bullying or any ambiguity to help them grow into more aware, healthy, functional, and beautiful adults. She's recently moved to Chennai from Mumbai and is offering her services here through the website, and you can reach out to her on her website, which is Healthy Mind and You. Okay, thank you for joining us, Rashmi.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
It's our pleasure. I'd like to introduce our second expert here, who is Karan Kakkad from the Reverse Factor. He's an international nutrigenomics and disease reversal expert based in India, an expert in holistic nutrition, and also associated with American Fitness Professionals and Associates, which is AFPA. He's an author of an upcoming book, something that you can all look forward to, we can all look forward to, which is Reversing Diseases with Habits and Not Diets. Very interesting. His passion in medical nutrition led to the birth of the Reverse Factor, which is backed by extensive research in the area of nutrigenomics, the scientific study of interaction of nutrition and genes. Nutrigenomics has revolutionized the world of prevention, treatment, and reversal of lifestyle diseases. He has moved from a biochemistry background into something which is alternate healing. And so it'll be very interesting for us to hear his perspective. Welcome, Karan.
Thank you so much.
Our third expert for today is Anita Deshikachari, who has founded the Tao, and that's a different story. The name behind Tao was very interesting when I was having a conversation with her, and you should reach out to her about it. She's based in Chennai, and she focuses on overall well-being of an individual from the physical, mental, emotional health to good relationships and even financial security. All things positive to address the mind, body, and the spirit. As a wellness coach, Anita's alternate healing practices focus on the root of the patient's belief system. She consults with patients who have various medical conditions, from digestive issues all the way to paralysis and even autism. She's a practitioner of sound healing, acupressure, acupuncture, and theta healing. In addition to that, she has also gained expertise on access consciousness, or access bars, as you call it, which is a non-invasive energy healing modality. She uses these different tools to personalize a workable solution for individuals to overcome their limitations. An interesting thing about her, she's a PhD in biochemistry who was not convinced in taking that route and instead chose alternate healing modalities that were her calling. With that, I'm going to invite our panel. And welcome to all of you once again. And for those of you who have just joined, I heard a couple of the beeps. We are introducing our speakers, and now we're just going to go into a question that is probably going to bind us all together. So Rashmi, Karan, and Anita, could you share with us the most meaningful part of this alternate healing journey? Each of you have your own journeys, but the alternate healing journey that you have traversed till today. Anita, if you could start.
Yeah, it's a pleasure being here in this meeting today. And coming straight to the question, I felt like when this question was put, it's very difficult to pinpoint and say that this particular moment of my healing, whether it was a healing was done on me or whether I was learning the healing or when I was doing it on others, which had a major impact on me. I would say that there were so many bits and pieces from here and there. It's like when I started with a research background. I thought I can address my health issues when I go deep into biochemistry, because I was having a biochemical disorder. So I thought I can find some solution there. When I was going deep into it, in fact, going up to the research, I was not convinced. I said, in fact, so much so that because I was following everything, nothing was working for me. So that made me really look, where am I going wrong? what should I be doing? And from there started a complete U-turn, and I was exposed to the world of alternative healings, different energy healings. Like I did all my Reiki, pranic healing, and one by one. But at each step, I was more curious to know why healing happens for some and it doesn't work for some. So this made me probe into the mind body soul connection. So as part of that journey was my exploration to acupuncture, because that brought an immediate physical relief. You have a headache, put a point, relief, good. But how is that relief permanent? No. So we have to probe. So like, you do some sessions and find out the emotions associated, because eventually it is our emotions which manifest as disease. So we call it as a psychosomatic factors. So when you analyze the emotions, analyze the beliefs, the mind, what have we programmed, all this manifested as disease or limitations in our relationships, finances. So this led me to explore from the physical aspect of a human being. Okay, I got a good health now, but I'm still not happy. My relationships are not good. My finances are not good. I'm not having a stable income. So this made me look further, probe. So what else is possible? And look into the world of energies. So this is where I started the Theta and the Access Consciousness, and including sound, to remove all the energy blockages in us living our life to the fullest. So again, as I said, I cannot pinpoint and say. There's been some profound experiences with sound. Sound really gave me that, really showed me what I'm capable of. It really pulled out my limitations, my sufferings to a great extent, my physical sufferings also. I found a relief in sound. And acupuncture, as I said, gave me that instant, I was not well, I do an acupuncture treatment, I was well. So I got that happiness, like from that physical well-being. And then it started like, so why? All this is fine, but what brought on the disease in the first place? I'm giving myself as an example, because the same thing applies for others also. Everybody comes to me, invariably everybody comes to me with a physical disorder. When we start probing into it, then we find the emotions, the traumas, the distress, and then becomes the healing, which is a long journey. So
yeah, thank you so much for that. And thanks so much for trusting us with the information that you have shared. And it's beautiful, the kind of self-disclosure you've done, because it helps us connect with whatever you've shared. And I'm sure we're going to do a slightly deep dive after we take the inputs from the rest of the panel members. So over to you, Rashmi. What would your thoughts be on, what's been the most meaningful part of the alternate healing journey for you?
So for me, the most meaningful and what I practice, what has got me grounded, what has made me a calmer person that I am today, is I can just pinpoint. One is journaling. So I extensively journal, and I believe in writing down and pouring my heart out on that paper. So journal, or journal therapy as I call it, it's journaling, and writing heals. That is what I keep telling everybody, and I keep propagating the same. So that has helped me. It has made me more self-aware. It has got me connected with myself. The other thing I think is, with my practice, I'm not alternative healing as a psychotherapist, because I always deep dive into thoughts of other people's beliefs. Is the belief working for you, not working for you? What is the alternative belief that we should think of, which will make you more functional? So that has, every time I am doing something, I am very mindful as to what is it that I'm telling myself. So I guess I've become mindful even as a communications, with my experience in communications as a trainer. I believe in the power of words and languages. So I am particularly myself, I realize I'm pretty mindful as to what are the words I'm using when I'm talking to people, connecting to people, and talking to myself as well. And of course, I have to mention at the last is being grateful or practicing gratitude. I think the pandemic has taught us that we need to shift our focus from the things that are missing in our life, to the things that we have, and start being grateful about them. because we were living in a we were in this marathon trying to just achieve things, and we were no longer impressed by small little happinesses in our life. We'll say हम तब खुश होंगे जब हमारे पास इससे अच्छी लंबी गाड़ी हो जाएगी, या हम तब खुश होंगे जब हमारे बैंक में इतना होगा. Definitely finance has its own space and we need it, but let us also become cognizant of the fact of the things that we have and start being grateful for them. So I think these three things is where I believe I has worked for me and continuously keeps working for me.
Thank you so much, Rashmi. So beautifully said. The conditions that we put in can actually,
Yes.
put us back. Yeah. All right. Over to you, Karan. What are your thoughts?
No, in fact, very, very, well summarized by Rashmi and Anita in terms of emotions are very, very important, and being grateful and living in gratitude is very, very important. Another thing which is very, very important to overall being fit, fine, healthy, and creating long-term health is right food, right? So, interestingly, we have seen food as a source of calorie or a source of energy. However, the new science around 1990s, the science of nutrigenomics, have shown us that food is not just a source of energy or a source of calorie, but it is actually information. And the food that, and rather, why just food, but anything that goes inside us can either make us good or will make us bad. And there are two things that can go inside. Number one is thoughts and emotions, which are attached to their thoughts. And number two is right food, right? So if the food and thoughts are in this in synergy to what we actually are, with nature, then we can actually create good health and reverse disease. So I think that is one of the very, very key realization, and that is what we try and help people achieve, that how with the help of right food can you reverse your disease.
Thank you for that, Karan. In fact, one of the questions that I had for you as part of the deep dive now was actually about what you had mentioned, which is food is information. And you said that even during our earlier conversation, and I found it very interesting. And I also like the way you unraveled it when we were speaking. So my question to you is, food is information. Do share how we can how can we be fit, be disease free, and see the myths around lifestyle diseases that you had spoken about. Knowing that the information we have about food, superfood, and I was going through your website and it spoke about broccoli and the vada. How do we make the distinction or the choices that we have to make between the kind of lifestyles that we're currently leading? So the question is for you to unravel this mystery of the food information and the superfoods that are bombarding our mailboxes and information.
So broadly speaking, there are two types of disease. Number one is infection disease, all right? Acute infection disease. And number two is lifestyle disease. Now, infection disease means polio, malaria, dengue, all of those. Lifestyle disease is blood pressure, diabetes, heart disease, cholesterol, thyroid, fatty liver, kidney problem, and the list goes on. Now, 100 years back, we had more of infection disease, very less lifestyle disease. But last 20, 30, 40 years, lifestyle disease has become an epidemic. Every other house has someone suffering from some kind of lifestyle diseases. But the problem today is that people try to treat lifestyle disease the way they were treating infection disease, which is just by popping pills. Now, if you have an infection, you take an antibiotic, it makes sense. But if you have a lifestyle disease, which is caused by your lifestyle and your food, just popping pill is not going to solve the purpose, right? So we need much more than just pills. So for example, if my fasting blood sugar is 100, if Anita's fasting blood sugar is also 100, but if I am taking 4 medicines, insulin injection, and then my fasting is 100, and her fasting is 100 without medicine, without insulin, On paper, it is 100 for both, but biologically, she's much better than what I am, right? So now we understand that there is an epidemic of lifestyle disease. Every other house has someone suffering from lifestyle disease. So what is the answer? What is the solution? And if you want to reverse completely your lifestyle disease, then we need to understand that the concept of gene expression. Now, what is gene expression? Whatever we eat will express our genes in a certain way, which means that, people talk that calories are same, but it absolutely not. 100 calories of Coca-Cola is not same as 100 calories of broccoli, right? Because that 100 calories of broccoli will give different information to our cells when compared to 100 calories of Coca-Cola. So actually, calorie-wise, it may be the same, but the information that it gives to our body is absolutely very, very different, right? So if we morning to evening, it is an opportunity for us to give right information to our body in terms of food and thoughts. And if you do that every single day, day by day, we're just going to become better, reverse disease, and create good health.
Thank you, Karan, for bringing in that piece around the gene expression, which was very interesting. I just have a follow-up question for you, and I'm sure it might come up in the chat as well. This process of disease reversal, right? What would be the duration of a therapy or an intervention of this kind? Because is it just food, or is there anything else that you supplement it with?
Great. So
Yeah.
2, 3, let's understand this let's make this very, very simple. Okay. So recently we had someone who was 22 years old. 22-year-old, his weight was 107 kgs. Okay. Now this boy, 22 years old, used to have Red Bull. You understand Red Bull, that energy drink? He used to have Red Bull, 2 to 3 Red Bulls every single day. Okay. He was not aware. He thought that Red Bull gives him energy, but he was not aware that Red Bull has only sugar and nothing else. And sugar will create fat, Now this boy, 22-year-old with 107 kgs, if he doesn't change his lifestyle, he doesn't change his food, he keeps living like this with packet food and junk foods and all of that, once he crosses 25, 30, he will have fatty liver, he'll have diabetes, he'll have cholesterol. And what will he do? He will start popping pills, but not treat the root cause of the disease, right? So the message is very simple, that we need to treat the root cause of the disease. Now you're asking about the time frame. Depends from person to person. Someone who has a little bit sugar, gastric, constipation might take a couple of months to be completely fine. Someone who has fatty liver, kidney problem might take 5-6 months, but it's okay. Let it take time. But the most fundamental thing, which I want all the listeners to understand, there are 30 people here today. I want all of them to understand that one of the most important thing is that when we are in our 60s and 70s and 80s, we should be fit, fine, healthy. There is nothing more important than that. And the only way in which we can be fit, fine, healthy during our 60 and 70 and 80s is if we have right habits. It is habits which are very, very important. Habits in terms of food, habit in terms of thoughts, habits in terms of living in gratitude, whatever it is. But it is ultimately our habits which is really going to help us, create long-term good health and reverse disease.
Great, thank you so much for that. So it's food, thoughts, and discipline that's going to come together to give us that better health and better fitness and the reversal of diseases as well. So with that, we go to Anita. So Anita, if you could share the various intriguing techniques that you practice with a little more focus on sound healing and access consciousness, access bars, because acupressure and acupuncture are things that people know about. But if you can focus on these two and anything else that you think would be relevant to our audience, could you please share some details around that?
Sure, definitely. So sound healing is based on frequencies. Now, if you are to take the human body, break it into tissues, cells, atoms, subatomic particles, and keep on breaking, eventually you'll find that we are all made of energies. which is nothing but sound energies. In fact, our Veda says that universe was created from sound. So sound is the basis of creation, and we all have that frequencies in us because atoms are rotating. So when the atoms rotate, they create certain frequencies. So sound, let's say I'm using a singing bowl, that sound is going to have certain frequencies. Now my body has certain frequencies. A healthy cell has certain frequencies. A diseased cell has certain frequencies. At the same time, the different cell types has different organs. Now let's take, I have a digestive issue. Let's say maybe I'm having some bloating. So in this case, let's say large intestine is not working well. So there is going to be a shift in the frequencies. The frequencies of the large intestine is at a particular hertz. So when you are constipated or like gassy, the frequency changes. Now what happens when I play the sound? The sound, it works in two ways. First is it relaxes the mind. It shifts the mind from the beta state. The beta state of the mind is the active state which we normally are. And the theta state is the most relaxing state. So when you train the brain cells from the beta state, the alert state, to the relaxed state, the theta state. See, for healing to take place, if you just give the right ingredient to the body does a very good job of healing itself. You needn't interfere with it at all. So first thing is stress removal. So being, in the constant state of, what next, which is, we are definitely going to create a big havoc on your digestive system. The first system to get impacted because of your stress is the digestion. So when I use the bowls, the sounds, the vibrations, you hear the sound, you feel the vibrations in a singing bowl. So when you hear, the brain moves from the active state to the relaxed state. It happens within minutes, 10 to 15 minutes maximum. So that makes the environment right for the cells, for the hormones, that is to secrete the hormones to begin the repair process. That is one way. Another way is the frequencies. As I said, certain frequencies, the frequencies are altered. When we send certain frequencies, they will shift from the diseased or the higher, or whether the frequencies has become higher or lower, to the correct frequency. So this is where you hear sound as well as you feel the vibrations in a singing bowl. Through this process, a healing takes place. So not directly, it's not like a medicine, it's not like a Gelusil. You take a Gelusil, your gassy issues are cleared. No, it's not like this. It works through the brain, through the vagus nerve system, the nervous system. From there, the relaxation happens. Then the body gets the message to heal. Everything is the cell to cell communication. What information you are giving to the cells. Okay, things are relaxed now. I think we can heal. That kind of a message gets communicated in sound. So that's why some of the most difficult to treat diseases and illnesses, sound helps. Sound, of course, you require other. In fact, I'm not against allopathy also. So maybe allopathy also helps. Popping that pill definitely helps. So along with that, if you can have these, the right environment, the stress-free, at least for half an hour to 1 hour, you can go to the deep relaxed state, the theta state. If you're lucky enough, to the delta state. There's nothing like it. The body heals itself. So this is about sound. The bowls are made out of usually a combination of 2 to 5 metals. So each metals has their own frequencies, and depending upon the conditions, we have different bowls for the chakras, for the organ systems, and with different vibrational frequencies. So, and coming to access consciousness. Access consciousness is a very interesting field where you rather change your, first you bring awareness to where your problem is, be in the state of awareness, and then the tools help to create or shift the realities. The best, to make people understand this, I will again quote my own example. I was doing research. I went up to doctorate. And then I decided I wanted to change field. So here I'm changing my reality from a researcher to an alternative healing practitioner. So I brought a shift in my reality. I did the long way. I had to explore different fields. I had to overcome my limitations, my thoughts, the trainings, whatever I've been trained. I had to unlearn everything and begin again. Now, what Access Bars does is there are some certain points on the head. There are totally 32 points on the head where when you press, it brings about a change in your thinking process, and which paves or again creates that environment to bring a shift in the reality. I think very crudely explaining this process, I usually say, like, imagine there is a traffic jam and nobody's able to move anywhere, a chaotic situation. That's how we mostly are. We are stagnant in our life because there's so many thoughts, so many problems, and we are so involved in our problems, we don't see the solution. Now imagine a policeman comes there, a traffic police, one or two people come there and start regulating the traffic. There is movement. So this is what Access Bar stimulation does to our mind. It creates that space. Usually they say that, you feel more spacey after a bar session, which means like when you are feeling all clogged and, all tight after a session, the first immediate feeling you will have is a feeling of spaceness. So when you create that space, of course, when the mind has some time to, assimilate that informations which are getting poured into us, you can come across to a workable solution. So it's very helpful and interesting tool to shift your realities. The problem remains the same. We are not talking here about healing the problem. We are talking here about seeing the problem in different perspectives and taking the path which is most workable for you. So this is about access consciousness.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. I think during our conversation, you also mentioned, Anita, the time it would take, and I'm going back to the discussion we had on hypnosis. It would take X amount of time. And when you're using either the sound therapy, sound healing, or Access Bars, the amount of time it would take for the mind to be able to absorb all of this is a little less. How useful is that for you when you are consulting with, let's say, the millennials, because you do have a lot of youngsters coming in, different situations that they're grappling with.
Yes.
Yeah, how does it work for you?
So most of the younger generation, they love sound. I think even teenagers love it. And as I said, it's very difficult for them to feel that peace, that calmness within them. Their mind is constantly overactive. So many thoughts, so many worries, so many thinking. So when they come and experience, most of the troublesome teenagers, they say that for that half an hour, that session, and the best part is they even cooperate. So most of the time, the parents is like, I'm not sure he'll be able to lie down for that long. I said, no, don't worry, the sounds will take care. So like for half an hour, they are still. So they are in that quiet space. I think for them, that itself is a big achievement. And for the parents, they are definitely seeing changes in the teenage behavior. Maybe not dramatic, but at least subtle changes. They are more willing now to listen. I have a particular example of this teenage boy just finished school and shifting to college, and most troublesome. And of course, it took nearly 6 months of sessions with him to put him in that space, that energy to be willing to listen to his parents, because tussle was about the college studies. So he was not okay with the college his parents wanted him to go. Obviously they were financially weak, and he had high dreams of going abroad and all that stuff. So he was totally adamant about not going to this college. And college in Chennai, according to him, I'm just giving his descriptions. He said all colleges in Chennai suck. They are so old fashioned. So he was absolutely refused to. In fact, they shifted college, 2-3 colleges in Chennai. So they brought him, and it took me, of course, lots of sessions with him to come to that space and energy where he started accepting, okay, at least for 3 years, I'll just tolerate this college kind of a scenario. And the good news is he now finished his, recently even gave his second year semester exam. So for a boy who refused to be in that college, of course, lot of sound healing sessions, and I also did something called Theta, and lots of bath sessions with him to calm him down, because the teenage energies are very dynamic,
Yeah.
keep shifting. They shift a lot.
Great.
So from there to for him, and he's doing pretty good. I mean, at least he's not getting high marks, but at least he's clearing the papers. So that was a message from his parents. So
Yeah. And right at the beginning, you also spoke about self-belief. So kind of ties together. One is about giving them the intervention from the external part of it, and the other one is
yeah,
to work on the inner energy as well. I'm just a little mindful of time, so I'm going to go right
sure.
to and thank you for that, Anita. There are a couple of questions. I think there would be more questions around theta therapy, all of it. We haven't gone into the
Yeah.
depth of it, but let me go to Rashmi. Rashmi, I love the work that you're doing, because positive psychology is something that's been very dear to me. I'm a big fan of Martin Seligman and the learned optimism that he speaks about. Yesterday, there was a conference that I'd attended where he was speaking about his new book. And I want to hear from you your thoughts on how we need to see wellness through different lenses as we move into the third box, which is after all this happens, what next?
Okay. So as in the post-COVID era.
Yeah, the
And how,
post-COVID era.
yeah, that's a very beautiful question you posed, Sujata. I always say that yes, the focus has come. Each one of us have been impacted by the pandemic in some manner or the other. Not a single soul can say that I have not been touched by it or affected by it. The pandemic has also got into the forefront the importance of not just physical immunity but emotional immunity. We have also realized that even if we are taking care of ourselves physically, it is so important to stabilize ourselves emotionally, then the physical aspect or the medicines or everything will start working on us. So the pandemic unfortunately has made us realize the importance of taking care of our emotions, the importance of self care, self love, of understanding our own coping mechanisms, of understanding what triggers us and how do we handle those triggers. So what I see as post covid and what I see as wellness is one, I think all of us always felt, and even now we feel that going to a counselor is, again, there are a lot of stigmas and taboos attached to it. Second, when to go to a counselor when there is absolute crisis. I always say that a therapist is trained to help you with all kind of confusions in your life, is trained to help you with the emotional roller coasters that you are going through. Instead of brushing them under the carpet, how about just going for a chat? Don't even say I'm come for a couple of sessions. A therapist will guide you if you need sessions or not. So don't wait for things to turn into crisis. The moment you feel that you need to talk to somebody, there are certain emotions which are inhibiting you, which are disrupting your life, which are stopping you from being productive, from being functional. That is the time that you should just go and speak to a therapist. Today, I think the pandemic, again, something that I've done is we have now, we are so glad. See, we are talking in this platform also about mental health and mental wellness. Yeah, something that we didn't do earlier. And it is not just this platform. If you see, so many platforms are talking and telling people it is okay, go out and talk. It is okay to not be okay. So we have finally at least come to this conclusion. It is okay if you are going through a difficult period. It is okay for men to cry. It is okay. It is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign of releasing your emotions. So it that is what we have come to realize. And I think post COVID, what we need to do is, we all are talking of resilience, a lot these days also. So when we start taking care of ourselves, when we start filling our mug with a lot of self-care, positivity, self-awareness, deep connection with ourselves, we will pour out the same. And during crisis situation, this self-care routine or regime, prepares us that next when there is a roller coaster of emotions, I'm in a better condition to handle them, because I have taken care, I have given time to myself. I have I am taking care of my emotions. I am recognizing my emotions. So just like, to take what Karan said, what information are you giving yourself? What are you feeding your thoughts, your mind with? Just like we know that we need to eat a healthy nutritional diet, we also need to be mindful as to we need healthy nutritional, I will say healthy, positive dialogue with ourselves that motivates us instead of pulling ourselves down. So we are a worst critic. So we should stop doing that. We should start patting our back for the small little efforts that we put, not always the end result. It is because it's the end result that tells us, okay, you are a winner or a loser. I say, look at the effort. So pat yourself for the effort. And post-COVID era, forget post-COVID era, the during period that we are still in, please have keep check on your emotions every now and then. Talk about your mental health, because when you talk about your mental health, you are giving self disclosure. You're telling others you can also talk, because I'm fine if I'm going to my therapist. Let it just like, we have a cold and we say I'm visiting a physician. Let's just say, okay, I'm talking to my therapist because I had this little relationship issue and I needed help. I reached out. So let's try to normalize talking about mental health in our home, in our office, in our friend circle. And when somebody talks, support them. Support them by telling them, I'm glad you started talking. Now let me see what is the help I can bring you. So I think that is what during the pandemic has to be. Take care of yourself, take care of your mental health, give time to yourself, reflect, and post COVID will be a lot better, because we know that the kind of emotions and the struggles we are going through post COVID will have certain repercussions, certain consequences. So let's start working on ourselves right now.
Great. Thank you so much for that. I love what you said, normalize talking about mental health.
Yes.
Because, and something that I think Karan mentioned, Anita mentioned, very empowering if you're able to come to terms with what is happening within,
Yes.
because that's what's going to unconsciously come out. So might as well take care of something that's happening within. It could be.
I'll just add one more thing over here.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of courage to accept and to go to a therapist. And where I'm coming from, I had this a therapist, one of my clients telling me this, that Rashmi, it takes a lot of courage to pick that phone up and even to talk to a helpline, even though you don't know the person. So I told her, then kudos to you, you were brave enough. So it takes a lot of courage. So let us pat those people and tell them you're so courageous. And just keep spreading that that it takes courage, and go out and just talk about it.
Yeah, and that leg up definitely helps a great deal. So we've spoken about, there was one thing that I wanted to ask all of you, and to some extent it has also come out from, as you are talking about it. And as we do this journey, I want to understand from you, just one or two words, what could be things that you would want your patient to unlearn, right? Because if they have to start absorbing, adopting an alternate healing method, there is something that they might want to, even to reach out, to seek help, right? They might be aware of it, but what would actually interest them to reach out to you? What are some things that you believe they might want to unlearn?
So I'll just take that answer, because you asked me this question during our conversation and I was thinking, and then I realized, what is it which is most difficult to unlearn is we all have certain belief systems, and that is where we get stuck. Sometimes a belief system actually, instead of propelling us further, become our obstacles. But we stick to those belief systems. One, because we are in a comfort zone. Second, we are scared, or we are not even aware. So I think the moment you realize that this thought process is not helping me, this belief system is not helping me, no matter for how long I've held on to it, at least be ready to explore it. So that then comes the space of changing it. So exploring yourself be open to challenging your thoughts and exploring them for a better version.
Great, thank you. That's a great pointer for anyone from our audience or anyone else who might want to reach out to you, or be open and willing to explore. Okay.
Thank you. Yeah.
All right. So I just want to know before we take a couple of questions from the audience, because there are a couple of them that have come in case any of our audience would like to reach out to you, could you share how they can do it? There are the websites and all of it, but is there something in particular that you would want them to do to reach out to you? Because you're working with helplines. I know Rashmi and Anita, you're doing some stuff, and Karan as well. Yeah.
So shall I? Okay. So in case you want to reach out to me, I can put my number in the chat box. Just feel free, WhatsApp me, connect with me. I do a lot of workshops on journaling, which is therapy, writing for therapy, healing. The second way is that you can reach. I'm there on Facebook. I'm pretty active on social media. You will see me somewhere or the other. Just ping me, and I'm very responsive. So I'll connect with you.
Thank you. Thanks, Rashmi.
Thank you.
Yeah, for me, I'll also put my number. They can WhatsApp me, call me. Even I'm there on the social media, Facebook, email. So
great. And you have the Tao out there. There are stories behind the Tao, so you can do that as well. Yeah, Karan, over to you.
Yeah,
your
so
website is
you can, anyone can reach out to us. They can just type Reverse Factor on Google, and you get the contact information, and you can just reach out to us anytime.
Great. So it's Reverse Factor. Yeah. All right. If you want to reach out to Karan to find out about reversing diseases that he spoke about, the website also has a lot of information around the superfoods. Why do you have to choose papaya over avocado, or muesli, or a whole lot of other things? Very, very interesting stuff that is out there. So in case anyone is interested, you can reach out to them as well. On that note, just want to check for some of the questions that have come in here. Yeah. I'm just taking a look at it. There's a question for you, Anita. Is there a cure for sudden hearing loss through sound therapy? Also, please throw some light on tinnitus.
Yeah, tinnitus. So there, I mean, whether you can heal, I don't use the word cure. Whether you can heal depends upon, I have to personally evaluate the person to find out why that hearing loss happened, whether it's temporary, permanent, and what are the other health conditions he or she is having. But sound can be done even on a person who cannot hear, because as I said, you don't hear sound, you also feel the sound. Even we have done one person who had a hearing loss, and he said, an elderly gentleman, he said that he could feel sound. That was his word. He could feel the sound. So
wow.
And we did a couple of sessions with him, but then he didn't come after that. For whatever reasons, he didn't follow us up. So we lost touch with him, but he gave us this beautiful insight that he could feel it.
Okay.
He had complete hearing loss.
Okay, and it's even age-related aspects can be taken care of. Can you reverse something? Okay.
Definitely. See, everything, if you can cure, if you can create a disease, you can definitely uncreate that disease within you. So for all diseases, yes, there is a solution provided. So I think there's also one particular question about, why in those days we didn't have so much healing modalities, but we were healthy. Now there are so many, we have to seek so much of help. The answer for that and for this is the same. You take responsibility for your health. Don't leave your health in the hand of a stranger. We trust the doctor more than we trust our health. We trust the person whom we don't know more than our immune system. COVID has taught us this beautiful lesson. So many people, I can quote so many examples where I was reaching out to so many, because we had these WhatsApp groups. So everywhere's like, there's no hospital bed. Can you suggest such center where they will take in patients? Oxygen levels are dropping. There's something called mudra therapy. I said, there's a simple thing called Linga Mudra, which will raise, do it as a first aid, as an emergency, because someone was willing to wait outside a Stanley hospital for a person in ICU to die, who's going to die soon, so that bed will become empty and they can admit this person in that bed So it took like 6 hours wait outside the Stanley Hospital after searching everywhere. And so I told them, when I got this information, I told them, at least in that waiting time, wherever you all are waiting, ask her to do this mudra. She was an elderly lady. I said, I gave her some color therapy. So use a sketch pen to, do something, at least improve the oxygen levels. It has amazing results. People were not willing. They were in the panicky mode, and they were trusting the doctor. So because of this delay in getting her admitted, obviously the lungs were damaged and she died after 2 days. See, I asked a simple thing. So take responsible for your health. Why do you trust? Believe in that. A stranger, what is a stranger going to do when you are not willing to do anything for you?
I just want to add to what she
Yeah.
said, and I think she's bang on. One thing which you were asking, Sujata, that we really want people to change, unlearn and learn. So if there is one thing I have to say is I really want people to understand that they are not the victim of their life, they are the creator of their life. So
Definitely.
once they take this information that they are the creator of their life, lot of their entire perception, their thought, their behavior, their thought process will actually change and become better. Because she's right, we have enormous power as human beings. See, we all are talking since last 45 minutes. You know how many red blood cells have been created in our body? Who is doing all of that? There is a power within us. Every hour, our kidney, from the time we are born, every hour our kidney cleans the entire blood twice in 1 hour. Who is doing that? We don't have to remind, hey, kidney, chalo, 1 ghanta ho gaya, clean the blood. No, body does. There is an innate power, intelligence in our body. That is something we have to be conscious about.
So it's beautiful that you brought in the piece on self-accountability. We're always asking somebody else to be accountable for everything. Yeah.
Correct.
So you're in the driver's seat, so you might as well go ahead and lead yourself in the right direction. A question that has come up is also, I think it's sent to me probably, is that is it possible to do all these therapies in a virtual manner? Because I remember, Karan, you were saying that initially all your interventions were confined to Calcutta, and after the pandemic, it's kind of exploded across the globe. So, so can we? Is it okay for us to believe that everything is possible virtually? Is there something that you want to share about that?
In my case, definitely food is the best medicine. So wherever you are, you understand, get the right information, become empowered and apply that knowledge. So it is very, very possible. And we are seeing people from different parts of India and helping them with the right information, right knowledge. So for example, in south of India, so there is something known as drumsticks. I'm sure most of us had, sambar mein hota hai, correct, drumstick. It is one of the superfood when it comes to overall immunity and health. It has unlimited amount of calcium, very good for diabetes, very good for blood pressure, excellent for arthritis, joint pain. We give drumstick to so many patients. It is very simple. You just have to boil it, finger-sized drumstick before lunch and dinner. Just boil it, and then just throw it out, after taking the pulp. That's it. It's just 4 to 5 pieces, before meals. It's a habit, but drumstick every day really helps. Really helps in terms of building immunity and good health. Yeah. So it is just about getting the right knowledge, become empowered, and then apply that knowledge. As simple as that. Yes, I think Anita and Rashmi can share about their work.
Anita, you want to share the virtual part of it?
Yes, I'm also like, okay, because sound can be done virtually, but one limitation with sound is you can only hear the sound, you can't feel the vibrations. The vibrations don't get transmitted across the electronics and the wires. So that's the only limitation. But let me talk here a little bit of energy. Like we might be limited in the physical feeling of the sound, but sound travels through space. So which means whether you are going to be here in Chennai or in US or anywhere in the world, the energies travel there. So it doesn't matter. You receive it in both the ways. You physically receive the sound. You will also energetically receive the sound.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. I like what you said, which is the omnipresence of, alternate healing. One last question to Rashmi before I hand it over to Abhi to wrap up this entire thing. So Rashmi, you have spoken a lot about emotional therapy and all of it. What has been your experience in dealing with the millennials? Do you see, I mean, it could be a hypothesis that there are a lot more millennials who need help today. It could be wrong, but what has been your experience?
So everybody needs help. What I've seen are millennials are more open to seeking help. And we all know that, yes, the time that they are living in definitely is so beautiful. They have so much more opportunities, but there are also problems of plenty. So yes, at least they know that they can seek help. I do have so many of the millennials, who reach out. Relationship issue being one of the most common issues for which they reach out for therapy, and they want to work on themselves and make the relationships better. So that is one. But just to repeat that, we all need help, because all of us who wants to evolve, all of us who feel we are stuck somewhere and we want to get unstuck, all of us who feel that we need to know ourselves better, make our lives more better, all of us need help, and there is where therapy can help you. To answer the previous question also, how technologically or virtually are we comfortable? So let me tell you, therapy and therapists are virtually very comfortably. It has been very well received by a lot of my clients, and I think world over. Now all therapies happen in online, and yes, now there's so much of comfort level that people are all the more happy to come online, because you can reach out to anybody. So it's there are no geographical limitations at all. Second, we also have something, so many platforms have apps and they have chat counseling. So some places where you're not comfortable talking, because again, to be able to verbalize your issues needs some deep diving. So you can use chat counseling, you can use helpline. There are so many methods, all are done virtually. So just avail them and feel free.
Great. Thank you. Thanks, Rashmi. I don't know, for some reason, it's a little frozen now.
Okay.
Just wrapping it up. I think we've spoken about journaling, gratitude, gratitude boxes. It's okay not to feel okay. We've also spoken about self-care, food as information, and the various other alternate therapies that that was spoken about, which is sound and theta and all of it. It's been very interesting having a very diverse cross-functional set of experts to speak with, and there's so much of information. I'm sure a 1 hour is not sufficient. There will be a lot of people reaching out to you all, because you've given not just a smattering of information, but a lot of self-disclosure, and we're really happy about that and grateful to you for that. On that note, we've traversed between these different pointers that you have shared, also between the boxes. So I'm going to hand over our panel to Abhi for the vote of thanks. Over to you, Abhi.
Yeah, hi, thank you. Sujata, we had a question. If we have time, if Dr. Anita can just, play some sounds. Is it okay, Raj? Do we have time? Yeah.
Raj, yeah.
Of course, yeah, we do.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is my bowl. So I request you all, okay, since you've seen the bowl, I request you all now to close your eyes, because you have to feel the experience. Close your eyes, awareness to the body, to your breath. Some of the vibrations might not be heard, some of the sounds might not be heard, because as I said, the electronic transmission will actually nullify the sound, but nevertheless, you will feel the relaxation. Breathe in and out with relaxation. Allow the sound to travel through your body from the top of your head to the tip of your toes. Today, let go of all your tensions, stresses, drop all the dramas of your life, and for the next 5 minutes, focus on your breath. Just a simple inhalation and exhalation, but do it with joy. Let there be happiness in your breathing. Inhale and exhale. Just be aware of your breath. Try to breathe as slowly as possible. Enjoy the process. As the sounds fade away, keep that peace within you. Bring your awareness to your body now. Be aware of the body, be aware of the breath, and with a feeling of gratitude for your body, for your breath, slowly come back, rub your palms together, place the palms on your face, and gently open your eyes with a big smile.
I think they should be called magic bowls.
Yeah.
I did
On a
only a
Friday
4
night.
minutes. I did only a 4-minute session. It was not even a full 5-minute session.
Yeah,
So
even
Very nice.
beautiful.
Very energizing. Thank you so much for taking us through the experience, Anita. That was very nice.
thank you.
See a lot of responses that are coming in, and I wish we were able to do this for each of the experts out there, whether it is about food or the therapy and all of it. Very beautiful.
Very, very beautiful, very centering, very nice.
May I speak?
You.
Back to you, Abhi.
Paddy wants to ask something.
I just want to ask where we can buy this vessel so that we can do it at home for all of us.
You're right, dear. They were used as vessels, but we call them as singing bowls or therapeutic bowls. They are available online, but to get a good quality bowls, you have to take a professional's help and then buy it, because if you go to Amazon, you would get the bowls, but you will not get this kind of the vibrations. We give lots of importance to the vibrations rather than to the sound. Even if it doesn't play, that's okay, but the vibration should be correct.
We can get in touch with you. You can guide me.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you.
Can I? Yeah. So Good evening, everybody. It's been a wonderful session. Being an entrepreneurship council, we have conducted a lot of sessions through the months since last year, a lot of sessions on different aspects. But then we suddenly thought one day, me and Dr. Raj was talking, and then it came up like, don't we think that we need to talk about mental health, food habits, and so many things? That is when we thought we will do that. And eventually all these things came in. And to add, I would like to say, like, every year from when I was a child, I used to write one caption and keep it in my diary or any note for that year. And eventually in 2018, I wrote it as gratitude, express gratitude and happiness unlimited. And I don't know, after that, I have never changed. 2019, 2020, and 2021, I have never changed. And today, when I heard Rashmi talking about it, and I do this gratitude journaling or gratitude box and other things, it was really touching for me. Next thing was the food. So I believe in the territorial food a lot. And when Mr. Karan was insisting on the food habits and food, it was really amazing to know. And somebody coming from the north and telling us that moringa, the drumstick, is very good for health is something really, really great. So healing through food, yes, it's one of the wonderful thing what we can say. And here, when I said gratitude, I really want to express my gratitude to Sujata Suresh for having introduced Anita ma'am. I have taken treatments. I have been taking and I'm still taking. She is wonderful. She's wonderful. The same question like how Paddy asked, can we have these balls? Also, she has told me what is the difference between balls. I have gone to different, I've spoken to different people and then see the balls, and the way she does it, it is amazing. If any of you, I really say like, Anita ma'am, I take this opportunity to express my gratitude and sincere thanks to you for being such a wonderful soul and given treatment and giving treatment for me till date. And another thing is having accepted to come over here to express your, experience and your therapies and other things. It's been a wonderful session. Rashmi, again, coming back to you. Thank you so much. Positivity is one thing which is very, very important in anybody's life. Self-belief. Yes, mental health is also important. How we go to a doctor and then people are not worried about going and telling, I have heart problem, I have BP, I have sugar, I'm taking sugar tablets. But when it comes to mental health, nobody wants to really come out and tell. But that is something which you have brought in today, which is really, really wonderful. And in this moment, I would like to thank and show my gratitude to Dr. Rajshri, our president, Wiki Tamil Nadu Entrepreneurship Council, for always accepting and coming out all with the very wonderful topics and then executing in the very right way. And Sujata, it was a wonderful moderation and the questions were really, really nice. And I thank all the council members who have been material to do such sessions, and thank you all the participants for having been here. I hope you would have got a lot of insights from this session, and we look forward to have one session separately with all the speakers so that we have more time and then we get to know a lot of things. Thank you so much. Over to Raj.
Thank you. That was a very enlightening session. We learned so much. And Rashmi, I totally resonate with you on, your attitude of gratitude and, to be thankful for what we have instead of searching for what we don't have. That is always, a very nice principle to have in life. It gives you a lot of contentment and happiness. Dr. Anita, wonderful. I am also a biochemist, by the way. So,
oh, that's nice.
Yes. And there was a period in my life when, series of things shifted me to the energy dimensions that you're talking about.
Okay.
Being scientists, I think it is very important for us to understand not just how the way the cell functions, but it is all, at the end of the day, there is some invisible energy that is running every cell, and it is, I mean, what happens in a cell on a daily basis is truly, truly amazing. And I think the body that we have been endowed with is an instrument which is, it's in Tamil, if you say it's an arpudam, it's something that is so unique, right? It's by itself, it stands. So we should learn to take care of it and be more mindful and take care of ourselves. Yeah, thank you so much for the wonderful session and lovely moderation, Sujata. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great rest of the Friday. We're already energized for the rest of the weekend.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Thank you for
Yeah,
having
thank
me
you.
here.
Thank you so much. It was a great pleasure meeting all of you all.